Since Sean Cunningham's chilling film franchise debuted in 1980, Friday the 13th has taken on a haunting aura, particularly when it aligns with the spookiness of October. For some, it serves as an early cue to embrace the impending Halloween season. However, for others, this date becomes a source of intense anxiety and an overwhelming fear of Friday the 13th. But there is more to this story, a twisted tale that unraveled in Greenfield, Massachusetts during the Halloween of 1988. Brace yourself as we delve into the harrowing events that unfolded, events that were shrouded in secrecy and only partially revealed to the press. Chapter 1. In the year 1988, a sinister cloud descended upon the peaceful town of Greenfield, Massachusetts. It was a place known for its serene beauty and tight-knit community, but that harmony was shattered by a horrifying murder that tainted the very essence of Halloween itself. The victim, a young and innocent soul named Sharon Gregory, met a gruesome fate that would forever haunt the town. Sharon's life was brutally cut short on that fateful day when her lifeless body was discovered mutilated in her own bathtub. The investigation swiftly turned its focus on a troubled teenager named Mark Branch, a young man with a disturbing obsession for slasher films and a dangerous infatuation with the infamous Jason Voorhees. While previous accounts of this case had been presented to the public, they left us unsatisfied and hungry for the truth. Today, we embark on a spine-chilling journey delving deep into the tragic story of the killer lurking behind the Friday the 13th legend. Greenfield, Massachusetts, nestled in the heart of New England, appeared to be an idyllic haven. It exuded a unique blend of urban charm and rural serenity, an unsuspecting backdrop for the horrors that unfolded. With a modest population of fewer than 20,000 residents, it boasted a thriving community college, a beacon of knowledge and opportunity. Sharon Gregory, an 18-year-old psychology major, was a promising young woman attending Greenfield Community College alongside her identical twin sister, Cheryl. They were inseparable, sharing not only their physical resemblance, but also a deep bond forged through a lifetime of shared experiences. Little did they know that their lives would be irrevocably altered on that ominous October morning of 1988. As the sun rose and the sisters prepared for their day, oblivious to the darkness that awaited them, Cheryl bid farewell to Sharon and ventured off to pursue their academic endeavors. It was a seemingly ordinary goodbye, but little did they know it would be their last moments together. Sharon, fresh from her shower, stood alone in the bathroom, unaware of the malevolence that lurked in the shadows. When Cheryl returned home later that day, the air carried an inexplicable sense of foreboding. Fear gripped her heart as she stepped into a scene of horror. The floors were stained with blood, an ominous trail leading her deeper into the house. With each step, her trepidation grew until she found herself standing in the bathroom, her eyes beholding a sight that would forever haunt her nightmares. There, lifeless and mutilated, lay her beloved sister in the cold embrace of the bathtub. A primal scream tore through Cheryl's lips as she desperately reached for the phone and dialed 911. The words stumbled from her trembling lips, conveying the devastating truth that Sharon was dead. At first, she believed her twin had succumbed to her own demons, that darkness had claimed her. But as the authorities arrived and began their meticulous investigation, a chilling reality emerged. This was not a case of a tormented soul seeking release. This was a calculated act of unspeakable violence. Sharon had been brutally stabbed, her face back and throat bearing the marks of a merciless killer. For the Gregory family, this nightmare was beyond comprehension. As they grappled with their unimaginable grief, a single question tormented their minds: who could commit such a heinous act against their beloved daughter and twin sister? Sharon Gregory, born on March 26, 1970, in the small town of Greenfield, was a beacon of light, a spirited soul whose warmth touched the lives of all who knew her. From an early age, she displayed a fierce independence, a free spirit unafraid to chase her dreams. Her love for art blossomed into a passion, and her open nature allowed her to connect effortlessly with people from all walks of life. The outdoors held a special place in her heart, and her affinity for feline companionship was evident in her vast collection of cat-themed treasures. Her own cat, Normal, named after a notorious comic strip character, was her constant companion, offering solace in a world that often felt uncertain. The Gregory family, tightly knit and supportive, nurtured the twins' thirst for knowledge and exploration. They exposed the girls to the wonders of the world, taking them on countless trips and museum visits. In high school, Sharon and Cheryl thrived, finding popularity and involvement in various clubs and activities. In their junior year, Sharon stood alongside her friends in a powerful demonstration known as Black Tuesday, donning all black attire as a symbol of unity, advocating for the acceptance and rights of marginalized individuals, especially LGBT students. By her senior year, Sharon and her high school sweetheart were planning a future together, envisioning a life of love and happiness. Even as she entered college, Sharon maintained a close-knit circle of friends, always radiating a warmth. Chapter 2. Mark's time at McLean School had a transformative effect on his life. By his 11th grade year, he was granted permission to commute instead of being a resident. A new chapter began for Mark when his family relocated to a seemingly innocent neighborhood on Meadow Lane. He secured a job at a local grocery store and reconnected with his childhood friend, Scott Landry. It appeared that fortune was finally smiling upon Mark as he found genuine companions who shared his macabre fascination with slasher movies. Finally, he felt accepted and understood, his troubled past overlooked. Throughout his life, Mark's obsession with slasher movies burned relentlessly. The gore and violence depicted on the screen brought him an inexplicable pleasure. At the age of 17, he began to embody his idol, Jason Voorhees, the iconic character from the Friday the 13th franchise. Clad in heavy combat boots, work pants, and plaid shirts, he immersed himself completely in the world of his favorite horror movies. Collecting Friday the 13th memorabilia became an all-consuming mission, a quest made more challenging by the scarcity of such items in the 1980s. Mark's friends described him as a quiet individual with little ambition but a dry sense of humor. Strangely, he took pride in believing he would amount to nothing. Yet, hidden behind his self-deprecating facade, he harbored a grand ambition to become the actor who portrayed Jason himself. With his towering height of 6'1" and a strong athletic build, he seemed destined to embody the role with chilling authenticity. Sharon and Cheryl crossed paths with Mark through their mutual friend, Scott Landry. Mark never concealed the unsettling things he had done, proudly recounting tales of dressing up as Jason on Halloween, lurking in the shadows, and even chasing a girl passing by. He admitted, with disturbing nonchalance, that he would have stabbed her if he hadn't stumbled. Shockingly, those around him dismissed these chilling statements as mere quirks, seeing him as a peculiar but harmless oddity. Their friendship remained intact, undeterred by the darkness that lurked within Mark's mind. By August 1988, Mark's closest friends were aware of his past stints in mental institutions due to his violent outbursts. Yet they never probed further, perhaps too afraid to uncover the true depths of his darkness. However, fate would intervene, giving Cheryl a glimpse into Mark's troubled psyche. One day, Mark unexpectedly brought his psychological profile to Scott's house, and Cheryl happened to be present. Intrigued and captivated by the enigmatic Mark, Cheryl asked if she could borrow the profile to read. Mark agreed, but with strict conditions. She must not share its contents with anyone and must burn it after she was finished. Cheryl, true to her word, informed Sharon about the profile, a decision that would unknowingly set a course toward tragedy. Somewhere along the way, the relationship between the twins and Mark soured. According to one of Mark's friends, he harbored deep anger towards the twins, accusing them of mocking him. Exact words that triggered Mark's rage remain shrouded in mystery. On October 22nd, Scott called the Gregory residence, and Sharon answered. Scott inquired about the profile. As Mark wanted it returned, Sharon located the profile and informed Scott that Cheryl still had it. Monday, October 24th arrived, and Cheryl still possessed Mark's psychological profile, unknowingly stoking the fire of his growing fury. The twins' intentions regarding the profile remained murky, but speculation suggested they may have planned to use it for a school assignment. At around 8:15 a.m., Sharon's day took a dark turn as her car refused to start, leaving her stranded and distraught. Desperate for help, she dialed Scott's number, tears streaming down her face as she pleaded for assistance. Scott, unable to lend her his own vehicle, guided her through troubleshooting her car. After their call, Sharon was left alone in the house, vulnerable and unaware of the danger lurking just beyond her door. Unbeknownst to Scott, Mark overheard their conversation, his ears attuned to every detail. Casually, he inquired about the call, and Scott recounted Sharon's car troubles, emphasizing that she was home alone. Approximately 15 minutes later, Mark cunningly asked Scott for a ride home, using the excuse of picking up his paycheck. Little did Scott know that he was unwittingly becoming an accomplice to a horrifying act. Mark arrived at the Gregory residence in his gray Chevrolet Chevette, his heart pounding with anticipation. To his surprise, the front door stood unlocked, inviting him in like a dark omen. Calmly, he stepped inside, his presence an ominous shadow in the otherwise tranquil house. The events that unfolded next existed only within the realm of speculation. Chapter 3. Sharon's growing fear of Mark sent shockwaves through the community, sending chills down the spines of every resident. The name Mark Branch echoed ominously during every interview conducted by law enforcement. Thus, the relentless manhunt for the notorious Friday the 13th killer was unleashing a wave of panic and terror that engulfed the town of Greenfield. The police chief, fueled by a burning determination to bring Mark to justice, obtained a warrant for his arrest. State police and neighboring police departments joined forces, mobilizing a formidable task force to capture the elusive killer. On the morning of Tuesday, October 25th, a breakthrough emerged. Mark's abandoned car was discovered on a desolate dirt road near Buckland, a mere 30 minutes away from Greenfield. The vehicle, stained with a sinister cocktail of blood and cigarette ash, sent shivers down the spines of those who stumbled upon it. Armed with shotguns and accompanied by search dogs, the police embarked on a meticulous search of the surrounding woods, establishing roadblocks to seal off any possible escape routes. With a search warrant in hand, investigators delved into the heart of Mark's residence. In his room, a pristine orderliness initially masked the darkness that lay beneath the surface, but as they delved deeper, their eyes widened in shock. Mark's bookshelves and cabinets revealed a chilling truth. A collection of nearly 100 VHS tapes featuring multiple installments from the Friday the 13th series and other notorious horror films like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and I Spit on Your Grave exposed the depths of his macabre fascination. The cabinets, lined with over 100 horror-related magazines, housed an arsenal of Jason figurines, 6 Jason hockey masks, and even a Michael Myers mask. It became abundantly clear that Mark's obsession exceeded the boundaries of an ordinary fan. Hidden within his bedroom closet, concealed from prying eyes, were a cache of hunting knives and a menacing machete, weapons that hinted at the darkness lurking within his soul. As the search unfolded, rumors took on a life of their own, spreading like wildfire through the town. Misinformation fueled fear, and locals concocted their own narratives to make sense of the horrifying events. One particularly unfounded rumor implicated Mark in the activities of a satanic cult called Dark Tuesday. This baseless falsehood arose from the unity displayed by Sharon and her friends at school, but in reality, Mark didn't even attend the same high school as them. Police Chief David McCarthy swiftly dispelled this rumor, assuring the public that there was no evidence of cult involvement at the crime scene. Unfortunately, in the midst of the satanic panic that gripped the era, almost every crime was erroneously attributed to occult practices. Despite the police's attempts to calm the escalating fear, the town of Greenfield descended into hysteria. Mark's obsession with slasher movies became public knowledge, thrusting the local tragedy into the national spotlight. The murder, occurring just a week before Halloween, ignited a blaze of panic that consumed the town. National news outlets descended upon Greenfield, and op-eds scrutinizing the influence of violent media on American youth proliferated. Such was the intensity of the situation that the town selectmen of Greenfield made the difficult decision to cancel all Halloween festivities. The nighttime Rag Shack parade was called off, and trick-or-treating was strictly limited to a narrow window between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. on October 30th, all in a desperate attempt to mitigate the looming threat of Mark's presence. As the manhunt intensified, Sharon's funeral took place on October 29th, a somber occasion that brought the entire community together. Carried by 6 pallbearers, her lacquered lavender casket was a haunting symbol of the tragedy that had befallen Greenfield. Over 200 mourners gathered to bid farewell to the innocent victim, their grief palpable in the air. The procession of cars stretched for what seemed like an eternity, a mournful testament to the impact Sharon's life had on those she left behind. Meanwhile, Mark remained at large, a shadow in the night, eluding capture. The search for Mark extended far beyond the borders of Greenfield, encompassing the entire state of Massachusetts. Bulletins were issued throughout New England, warning the public that an armed and dangerous killer was on the loose. The floodgates opened and numerous phone calls flooded in, reporting potential sightings of Mark Branch. Sadly, many of these calls proved to be false alarms fueled by mistaken identities or the overactive imaginations of frightened residents. In some instances, self-proclaimed psychics offered their assistance, claiming to hold the key to Mark's whereabouts. Halloween arrived, casting a suffocating veil of unease over the town. Even the local movie theater postponed the premiere showing of Halloween 4. Chapter 4. The relentless manhunt for Mark Branch, the cold-blooded killer responsible for the murder of Sharon, kept the community on edge. The search extended through November, leaving the town in a state of restless anticipation, haunted by the fear of another violent act. Finally, the gripping ordeal reached its chilling climax on November 29, 1988. Mark's lifeless body was discovered hanging from a tree, a grim spectacle found by a hunter during the deer hunting season. Astonishingly, his grisly scene was a mere 100 yards away from where the initial search had taken place. The dense foliage and the strategic positioning of his body had hidden him from earlier detection. The subsequent autopsy revealed that Mark had likely met his demise within days of Sharon's tragic murder, leaving a lingering sense of horror and unanswered questions. Mark's father, upon learning of his son's death, expressed a bittersweet sense of relief. He uttered the words, "We're just glad it's over. It's time to forget and carry on as best we can." And with that, the case was officially closed. But what drove Mark to commit such a heinous crime? As the investigation drew to a close, the police unveiled a probable motive based on a chilling psychological profile. The exact details of this profile remained shrouded in secrecy, but speculation suggested that it contained case histories, treatment recommendations, and the results of personality tests from psychiatric institutions where Mark had been a patient. Law enforcement believed that Sharon had intended to use this profile for an assignment, but had kept it longer than agreed upon. Combining Mark's existing distress regarding the profile with his sinister desire to kill, he seized the opportunity when Sharon was alone and unleashed his murderous rampage. So, in the aftermath of the tragedy, grief counselors from Boston descended upon the town. They held sessions at the local high school and community college, offering support to those struggling with the loss of Sharon. The community organized vigils to honor her memory, feeling that she had been overshadowed by the relentless media frenzy that surrounded the case. As the dust settled, questions arose regarding Mark Branch's mental health and the adequacy of his care. Police Chief David McCarthy publicly expressed his lament that Mark had slipped through the cracks of the Massachusetts mental health system. He solemnly declared Mr. Branch is in absolute fear that it's going to happen again. Mr. Branch told me that there were a lot of Marks out there. The Branch family had spared no expense in their tireless efforts to secure the mental health treatment that Mark desperately needed. Remarkably, Sharon's parents, despite their unimaginable grief, showed compassion towards Mark's family. They refused to place blame on them for their son's horrific actions, acknowledging that the Branches were also enduring the anguish of losing a child. As Halloween approached in 1989, the town council faced a harrowing decision on whether to cancel the festive occasion. However, Sharon's mother, driven by a profound understanding of the importance of childhood innocence, implored the selectmen to let the kids trick or treat. Her heartfelt plea resonated, and Halloween returned to Greenfield, but it was a Halloween cloaked in the shadows of the tragic events that had befallen the community, forever etched in their collective memory. Reflecting on the chilling tale of Mark Branch, one cannot help but be haunted by the motives that fueled his actions and the subsequent events that unfolded. It is a story that serves as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk within the human psyche and the devastating consequences that can ensue. The community of Greenfield will forever bear the scars of this tragic case as they strive to heal and rebuild in the aftermath of unspeakable horror.